The wind howled through the dense, barren desert, carrying with it the weight of a long-forgotten promise. A voice, ancient and fierce, whispered through the storm, "Ibrahim, they thought they could forget us, but the time has come. Has risen, and the world will tremble." It was a warning. The spirit of a fallen king is the man who would heed it. Introduction and set up. The evening sun hung low over Ouagadougou, casting a fiery glow on the streets below. The dust of the Sahel, endless and unyielding, seemed to settle into the cracks of the earth, as if the land itself was mourning. The people moved with purpose, their eyes heavy with the weight of the world around them. Ibrahim Traoré, a leader molded by struggle, stood on the balcony of his modest office, staring out into the horizon. His thoughts, once clear and direct, had grown clouded in recent weeks. The revolution that had swept through his land felt like an echo of something much larger, force greater than him, pulling at his soul. His country, Burkina Faso, stood at a crossroads that many had faced before. But as the day ended, Ibrahim could not shake the feeling that something more profound, something tied to the very foundation of African unity and struggle, was approaching. He had heard whispers of Gaddafi's spirit returning from beyond the grave to reclaim what was his, to warn those who had forgotten. There were those who betrayed the Libyan leader, his fellow Africans who turned their backs on his vision. For a united continent, Gaddafi had been a figure of immense power and controversy. His fall had not only been political, it had been a betrayal of everything he believed in. Now his spirit was coming back, not for vengeance, but for justice. The air around Ibrahim felt charged, as if the very fabric of the earth was waiting for something to unfold. He had been chosen. But for what? Conflict or challenge introduced. The knock on the door was soft, almost tentative. Ibrahim turned, his instincts immediately on edge. It was his trusted advisor, Amara, who stepped in, a grim expression on his face. "Prime Minister," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "there's something you need to see." Ibrahim followed Amara down a long corridor to a small room filled with old maps and newspapers. On the table lay a small, faded photograph, a black and white image of Gaddafi standing tall, his eyes fierce with determination. "Ibrahim, this came for you," Amara said, handing over a letter sealed with wax. The letter was old, the edges yellowed with time. The seal, unmistakable in its design, bore the mark of Gaddafi's regime. Ibrahim's hands trembled as he broke the seal, his heart racing inside. The words were simple but heavy. "The betrayal of my people will be the undoing of those who have forgotten. But I am not gone. I am watching. You must listen." The message was clear. Gaddafi's spirit, though gone from this world, had returned with a warning for Ibrahim. The betrayal of African unity, the fracturing of the continent's dreams, had set in motion events that could not be reversed. Ibrahim, a leader, caught in the crossroads of history, was about to be pulled into a storm that had been brewing for decades. Midpoint revelation, or twist us. The days passed. Strange things began to happen. Ibrahim found himself plagued by vivid dreams of Gaddafi's voice calling to him from the shadows, warning him of a great betrayal that had yet to unfold. But it wasn't just the dreams. Ibrahim began to notice things around him, objects, shifting, whispers in the wind, as if the very world was telling him that the past had not been forgotten. Then one night, as Ibrahim walked through the streets of Ouagadougou, a figure appeared from the darkness. It was a man wearing tattered clothes, his face obscured by a hood. The figure approached Ibrahim without a word, but his presence felt like a wave crashing against the shore. "You are the one," the man said, his voice raspy, as if he had not spoken in years. "The one who will change everything. But beware, Ibrahim. Those who betrayed Gaddafi are not the only ones who will pay the price. The spirit of Africa itself has been wounded, and those wounds will bleed again, starting with you." Ibrahim's heart pounded in his chest. "Who are you?" The figure stepped back, disappearing into the shadows, leaving only a single object in his wake, a necklace with a small black stone. Ibrahim picked it up, feeling a strange warmth radiate from it. It was then that Ibrahim realized the truth. Gaddafi's Spirit had not returned to warn him of an external enemy. The true threat lay within. The betrayal wasn't just about the past. It was about what was happening now. What was being allowed to happen in the present. Climax emotional breakthroughs. The days grew darker. Ibrahim became consumed by the knowledge that the fate of Africa and his country rested on his shoulders. He struggled with the realization that, like Gaddafi before him, he had to make a choice line with the corrupt powers that sought to divide Africa further or stand alone. At the risk of everything, on the night of a pivotal summit, Ibrahim stood before the leaders of the African Union, each of them looking to him for guidance. The weight of the moment settled on his shoulders. In the back of his mind, he could hear Gaddafi's voice echoing from the past. Ibrahim took a deep breath. He could feel the presence of something far greater than himself, an invisible force that had been guiding him all along. With one decisive motion, he slammed his fist on the table. The time for betrayal is over. Ibrahim shouted, his voice strong, unwavering. We are not pawns for foreign powers. We are Africans, and we stand together. The room fell silent, the air thick with tension. A moment it seemed as though the world might fall apart. Then, something shifted. The leaders of the African Union, once divided, stood up, their faces filled with resolve. The spirit of Gaddafi, the spirit of unity, had been reignited. Resolution and quiet closure weeks passed, and the winds of change began to blow through Africa once more. Ibrahim's bold stand had sparked a movement for unity, for the healing of the wounds that had divided the continent for so long. But as the world shifted, Ibrahim found himself standing alone, looking out into the horizon once more. The spirit of Gaddafi had returned, not as a vengeful force, but as a reminder of what had been lost and what could still be saved. Ibrahim Traoré had answered the call, and in doing so, he had become the beacon of hope Africa had long been waiting for. But as the sun rose on a new dawn, Ibrahim knew that the fight for Africa's future had only just begun. Call to action. For YouTube, if this story touched your heart, consider subscribing for more inspiring tales of hope, healing, and unexpected kindness. Hit the like button and share this with someone who needs it today.